Hello. This is Britt with Truth Be Told Podcast. I'm your host, and today we have episode number 55 with Jamie Sawyer. This is called You. How are you doing today, Jamie?
Love it, love it, love it. And I love that title, You Owe You. I feel like that's been my last 2 years. So I just love that. I'm awesome.
Yes,
Hi.
thank you. I'm very excited to have you on the show today. I'm very honored that you took the time out to speak to me today. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I really thought of this topic because I read this book by he's a doctor. His name is Eric Thomas. Of course, he's the hip hop teacher, one motivator speaker, one of the motivator speakers. And what made me actually pick you to talk about the title was I really felt like we're at a pivotal point right now in life, 2023. It is May already. And I feel like people always need some type of word of encouragement. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah.
And like, cause they lose it. They lose their, what their goals, their goal setting they did back in January. It's getting warm out and like, they're already losing motivation for what they're going to do.
Yes, it is. It is definitely getting warm. It's getting hot. I like to be outside when it gets hot, Jamie. So that's why I was
Yes.
like, okay, let me talk about it. And then another thing was I needed some time to recharge my battery. So before I get into the topic and talk about what you owe you means to me and what I wanted to bring it to the audience, I do want to talk about you a little bit more. I'm definitely honored to have came across your name through Amy. Shout out to
Yes.
Amy Blaine.
All right, Amy.
Yeah, like I love Amy. I miss my book club. They were one of the ones that actually helped me bring out the mindset, the growth mindset, learn how to appreciate moving forward.
Yeah.
And so definitely shout out to her. But a little bit more about you. I know you told me you were an eighth grade teacher. You love dogs. I know you love nature. Give us a little bit more about Miss Jamie.
Yeah, hey guys. So my name is Jamie, and I teach eighth grade. I've been doing it for 8 years. I love nature, and that's really I'm going to talk about that, like how I recharge my battery. And my dog Gunner, he's like my best friend in the whole world. He's a rescue. I've had him for a year and a half, and he's just my favorite of all time. And then just a little bit about me. Besides that, really anything outside I'm good with. Working out, I love being with my friends and writing. I also just started a podcast this year because I thought
Whoop, whoop.
all the cool kids are doing it. So I feel like I'm starting a new adventure. And I'm really all about kind of reinventing myself constantly. But I've rethought about that. Instead of reinventing, like I just keep adding on. Like I keep what I love about myself, and then I keep adding on and starting again. And so really just constantly trying to see like what's new, what new adventures can I do, what boundaries can I push, what are uncomfortable situations I can put myself in to kind of do new things. So I'm a little bit of everything.
I love that. I love that. It takes a lot for a person to be a teacher. It says a lot about your character. So when you told me that off the bat and you told me that too, I was just like, I already knew what type of heart you had because I always say everybody can't be a teacher.
Oh my gosh. I even question myself some days, like, what am I doing? But then there's glimpses of amazingness, and I do believe all kids can achieve anything they want to achieve. I believe children need adults and community to believe in them in order to believe in themselves. And it starts when you're young. How many stories have you heard about students who are like, I hated this teacher, or because of this, I never learned how to read well, or because of this, I struggled with math. So I truly believe that when a student has someone believe in them, they can achieve anything.
Oh, I believe that. I mean, you said the right word when you have somebody to believe. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the really big thing. A lot of people don't always believe in us. And when you gravitate to a teacher that can understand how you learn, because everybody doesn't learn the same way,
Hmm.
and can nurture that and inspire that. I think that's awesome. So I definitely commend you on that, Jamie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
When you're not teaching, though, what else do you like to do? Tell us a little bit
I
more.
mean, yeah, when I'm not teaching, you'll find me at the gym. I love lifting, and that is another way that I feel confident. It kind of helps me when I'm going through stuff. Like as a teacher, the amount of things that I go through and have to think about all day, sometimes I can't get that all together. And it's a way for me to put myself first and ground myself. So you'll find me in the gym. In the summer, I'm on my paddleboard, or I'm camping, or I'm somewhere up north, or in Colorado. That's my other favorite place to be. My
Oh,
oldest
I
son
love
goes
it.
to college there. So I love
I've
Colorado as
never
well.
been. I have a cousin that
Oh.
stays in Colorado. I always say I'm gonna go visit her, but I heard it's amazing.
It's if you love Wisconsin but hate the weather, it's very has a Midwest feel, but there's just mountains everywhere and the weather is just not as extreme as Wisconsin. Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Okay, okay. Well, I'll definitely put that on my bucket list. Thank you, Jamie. But okay,
Yes, you're
so when we
welcome.
go back to definitely talking about you owe you. I
I'm
don't know
excited
if
to
you've
read
read
that
this
book.
book. Gosh, yes, you definitely got to get it. It's by Eric Thomas. I actually got to see him speak here in Texas, in Houston, Texas. One of my another book friends, Teresa. Shout out to Teresa. She was definitely
Yes.
telling me about this church, and I just started going to Lighthouse Nation, and it just started grounding me because I'm really big into, like I said, a growth mindset and moving forward in life.
Mhm.
So when I
Mhm.
ask you, because it's the middle of the year and some people probably are following up their goals or trying to get back to their goals, how do you recharge your battery? What are some things that you can say to the audience that helps you ground you back to being Jamie?
Mhm. Before I tell you that, can I just say my love language and maybe yours is as well is book friends
Oh,
and
yes,
music friends.
yes,
Like
yes.
someone reads a book and they text you and they're like, "Hey, you got to read this," or "I heard this song, you're going to love it." Like those are my people. And that just made me excited when you said my book friends cuz that's my love language.
Yes, I
Um
love my big friends. Thank you.
yes. So when I recharge, I was thinking about that question and I always notice I need to when I get jealous of other people. I start getting really judgy. I say yes to like way too many things that don't align with myself. And I just feel like I'm tired all the time. And so those are moments where I have to almost go solo. Like I disconnect from everyone. If I can be outside, I'm gonna go camping for the weekend by myself. I'm gonna take a solo trip by myself. Um, and I journal a lot and I pull cards. Not necessarily tarot cards, but like universe cards. Uh but anything to kind of get all the way back to why did I burn myself out? And a lot of times I think we need to recharge because we overcommit to way too many things because we're looking for the validation of other people. Like as a teacher, am I a good teacher? Well, I should pick up this project and that project and this project. Oh, my friends need me. So I'm going to say yes to dinner for them. Oh my gosh, my kids need me. So yes, I will do that. And then before you know it, there's like nothing left in you. And then I start to
Right,
get
you're
jealous of
empty.
other people, like, wow, they're so successful. Why can't I be like that? Or I judge myself so much. Ladies, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but like we instantly are like, see, that's why you can't accomplish that. That's why
Mhm.
you can't do that all the way. So I notice when all of that happens, I need to like step all the way away and just be alone.
Oh gosh, I love that you went there. It's funny sometimes how God brings people together because when I do these podcasts, I'm not a script person. I kind of
Hmm.
go by the person that I'm talking to
Yeah.
and where God is leading me to. And because I know that you were already in personal development, I knew where you were going to go with that. as you are being alone and being in solitude, tell people the difference between being alone versus being lonely. Because sometimes people can, get that confused, and that's totally
Yeah.
different to get to solitude.
Oh, for sure. I think being lonely is when you secretly want someone else to be there, but you're almost like, do I want to say putting on a front that you're good by
Hmm.
yourself? But being alone is truly putting yourself first. I date myself. I'm going to take myself on the date. I'm going to buy myself flowers. I don't want anyone to talk to me if I take myself out to a bar. Being alone is putting my phone on do not disturb and maybe even putting it in the car for a whole day or wherever I put it. Being alone is choosing myself over anything else and being completely content and happy with that, which took me a long time to get to.
Oh, I love that. I love.
Because,
What made you get there? What was the breaking point?
well, like most women, breakups. I had just gone through like a second breakup where I was just, this was like 2.5 years ago now, where I was just so fed up almost with myself, with my codependency, reading a book on that, with my people pleasing ways, with my just everything constantly looking for someone else to choose me, to put me first. And I finally just decided I needed to go deep in myself. I needed to
Mhm.
reflect on why I couldn't just choose myself. I don't think often enough women, especially, are able to say, no, I love being by
Mhm.
myself. I want to be here and truly mean it. Like,
Mhm.
truly are so content with who they are that whatever people they allow in their space only add to their plate, only add to their peace. And they love who they are so much they're willing to push anything else away, and not in like a mean way, but just like, this
No.
is just not for you right now.
Right, right. I love
Mhm.
this. I love all the nuggets you're giving, Jamie. Like I'm getting goosebumps because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's hitting it.
Yes.
She's hitting it. She's hitting it. Everything I'm asking
Hmm.
her to say, it is definitely hitting. But one
Yeah.
thing that I realized is that when you learn to be not in the world, you know,
Yep.
sometimes we're in the instead of not being in the world, be above the world.
Yep.
That can ground you, that can center you, that can teach you to be alone and how you owe yourself to keep gravitating and keep moving forward. A lot of us
Yep.
get stuck, like you said. I said, what was the breaking point? And you said it was a breakup. And
Hmm.
sometimes we need to hit bottom, or not necessarily hit bottom, but necessarily a
Hmm.
wake up call to realize that we need to go inward because that's where the
Yep.
work starts. That's why we
Yep.
owe it to ourselves to keep moving forward. Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah, and
love that.
I think, if also with what you're saying, if you don't know how to treat yourself, if you don't know how to love yourself, how are we expected to teach others to love us?
That's true.
Like, I didn't know all the things that maybe I needed from other people. And I had to get to the point of, why was I staying in relationships that were just minimal or basic when I know I deserve the top, to be the queen, to
Hmm.
be with a partner who wants to grow with me, to be with a partner who has a spiritual connection, whatever that may be, who is healing and constantly growing themselves. And I think I was scared to say it because what if they leave me?
Oh gosh,
And
yes. We're always scared to be alone.
yes, and it's like I had to get to the point where if you have to leave, you have to leave.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm still working on that, of course.
Hmm.
But I just think the more you love your fall in love with yourself, and the more you learn to choose you and to realize how amazing you are, you really only attract that positive energy, right? What's that phrase? I do not chase, I attract. So every time I'm about to
Yes.
go chase something, I'm like, I do not chase, I attract. And when I can really let go and let God, even though I say that all the time, and then I like start freaking out and all the thoughts come through, but when I can really truly let go and let God and understand that He will allow it to come to me, it always works out so beautifully and
It
so
does.
wonderfully. And if I can just let go, it will come, and probably even greater than I realize I wanted.
hmm it's funny you said that because I think you had to learn that.
Yeah.
And like you said, you had to get to that point in life to where you knew it was more and you needed to be grounded and you need to um, kind of go inward and focus on what you needed to do because you owed yourself to keep going. When I
Yeah.
read this, I want to read something that I'm not going to go into the book because you're hitting all the points, and I just
Yeah.
want you to definitely check out the book. But
Oh,
it's
I will
something
check it out.
that, yes, it's something that he says. It's a quote from Martin Luther King. It says, "If you can't fly, then run. If you
Mm.
can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you
Mhm.
do, you have to keep moving forward."
Yeah.
Um, that is something sometimes I think because of mental health is a really big thing. Sometimes it's hard for us to do. So
Hmm.
when you think of that quote from Martin Luther King about moving forward and like journaling and going inward, what are some other things that you do to recharge your battery or get to that point to where okay, like you said, the feelings are there, the
Hmm.
jealousy or the emptiness. Um, what are some other things that you can tell the audience to do to keep moving forward?
I think the other thing, well, I started seeing a therapist. I've seen a
Mhm,
therapist throughout the last 10 years on and off, but I never stuck with it. I would go like 4 or 5 times and then, okay, everything's cool. And just recently, we're really starting to get to the root of things.
mhm,
And the one thing I have to say to anyone listening, when someone, like, if you're talking to a therapist or you're journaling and all of a sudden you feel that, like, nope, I'm not going to go there, like, that's where you need to go. That's,
it's
there
hard.
were like 2 times in my last session where I put my head down. I was like, oh, son of a, I was like mad because I didn't want to have to face it, but I
Mhm,
also knew the answer was right on the other side of that.
mhm,
So I've been working with that a lot this week. So I would highly suggest to anyone listening, like, if you do go to therapy, stay past the shutdown phase. And if
mhm,
you do feel that jealousy, get curious. I never got used to get curious about my jealousy. I used to think it was a bad thing. Like, oh, here I go
mhm.
being jealous again. But I really started thinking about, like, what about this situation is making me jealous? Like, is it
Jealous.
something I want?
Mhm,
Is it me feeling less than? Is it me wanting something that they have? And most of the time, it was me not feeling enough to have what this other person, let's just say, had. So basically, I was
oh,
standing in my own way and I was creating the jealousy.
oh,
So,
it's crazy you said that.
mhm.
Go,
I
keep
really
going. I'm
think that,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh,
Keep
no, that's
going.
okay. No, I was just gonna say, and I think when people really start to examine that, because the
Mhm,
connotation around jealousy is so negative, but if you really sit with it and get curious with your feelings, I think deep down, you usually end up finding out something completely different, and that's when you really
yes.
start to get to know who you are. A, when do you need to recharge? B, why are you standing in your own way? C, what is it about this person that you want, and why do you think you can't have it? Whether it's a certain
Mhm,
partner or a job or a house, why do you think you are either undeserving or don't have the knowledge or whatever it is to go get it? And then that's the part where, okay, who told you you weren't enough? Was it you? Was it a parent? Was it a teacher? And that's where the real work starts, like way down there.
So it's crazy you went there because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I was listening to how they pretty much said we pretty much are addicted to attention. Or when we were
Mhm.
little, pretty much all of us have a drug, whether you want to believe it or not, you're addicted to
Oh, yeah.
something.
Yep.
We can be addicted to attention or being appreciated. Think about it. Like when you were little
Yeah.
and your parents clapped for you, it was yay, yay,
The
yay, yay.
approval.
But
The approval.
approval. But then think
Mhm.
about whenever, say, you're doing something on stage. and like you're a comedian, and then
Yep.
they're booing you, and then you're like, well, what did I do? And then you're boo, 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 and then think about a child going through that, and
Oh my gosh.
we teach our kids us that type of behavior coming into this world.
Yeah.
So we think sometimes that if we don't have somebody rooting us on, or we're not being appreciated, or
Mhm.
we're having those negative feelings of jealousy, something's wrong. But sometimes, like you said, it can be a totally different thing.
Yeah. And just what you said, I think that okay, so just the other day I went on and looked at reviews on my podcast, and I think I had like 14. And 3 or 4 were 1 stars and all the other were 5. But all I saw was the few 1 stars. And those I like went all the way down. And I was like, "Well, see, this is why you don't do stuff off the cuff. This is why you need to plan better. This is why you aren't successful." All because I let those few negative things define who I was instead of A, the fact that I did something I've never done before, B, I'm reinventing myself again in my 40s. C, I don't really know
Yes.
what I'm doing, but I'm just like teaching myself along the way. So when you talk about, you also talked about like success. Sometimes I forget, and I think a lot of women, because we look at what I haven't done or what I'm not doing well enough. We don't
Mhm,
look at all the other things we're doing.
mhm,
And
mhm.
when it comes to that validation, until you can give it to yourself, you will constantly be chasing it. And so often, how many times do you look around, you're like, wow, she is amazing. I can't believe she's doing that. I can't believe she accomplished that. I can't believe she can do it that way. Like when you see those memes, right? Just all
Mhm.
those people who are looking at you thinking, how did you do it? Yet in our head, we talk so negatively. And like,
Yes.
where do those voices come?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
as soon as I can figure out how to turn that off, I will let you know, but I'm still working
Please
on it
do.
because you know that that's sitting in your head. For every 10 positive things, that one negative comment or whatever can pull you just all the way down.
Oh gosh, you said so much in just so little time. Um, I'm just honored that you are teaching. For one, I'm glad that you're a teacher because we need more teachers like you.
Thank you.
So I just want to say that just sitting here with you, I can feel your presence, and I know that I know some days might be harder than others. I know you guys are dealing with a lot. I'm always listening to the news with the shootings,
Mhm,
and with mental health. Can you say a little bit more about
mhm.
that? I mean, we don't have to go into that as deep, but as a
No.
teacher, how does that make
So
you
let's just,
feel?
yeah. And as an adult, so let me ask this, like, as an adult, for anyone watching or listening, how addicted to your phone are you, social media, the likes, the pictures? It is 10 times, 10,000 times worse for, I teach 8th grade, so like 13, 14-year-old. I mean, our kids are so focused on who slid up in my DM, how many likes did I get on my Insta story, how many views did I get on my Insta story? I need to pose this way, I need to pose that way. And 99% of the time, that's why the fights are happening at school.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
why kids can't even talk. They go from 0 to 100 in a second. And I do understand like the age I'm teaching,
Right.
but social media plays such a if I could get rid of phones up until like you're 18, I would. Only
I would
because
too.
kids just cannot process all they see. And I keep
Mhm,
thinking, like, even adults can't process it. How
mhm,
are we
mhm.
expecting, like, fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders to understand what they see is not real?
Yes, it's
Everything
an
they see.
image.
And some of my students in the past have shown me pictures of guys that have just slid up. And I'm like, why is your profile public? And
Mhm.
and then talking about public profiles and private profiles and this world of teaching that we're in, it is hard for so many other reasons because to ask a child right now we're reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And to ask
Oh.
a child to sit down and really get into this book is difficult for a few reasons. One, because of the pandemic, kids have fallen off grade level.
Mhm.
The amount of kids that were on screens for 2 years in a row. Uh, Number two, like their attention is just not there. They constantly need reassurance. They constantly need attention. They constantly need to be talking. So teaching right now is just, it's a battle against social media, validation, people that are older than them. Uh, we take their cell phones during the day, and as soon as they get them back, I mean, it is just, I don't get
What
to
did I
talk to them
miss?
anymore. What did I miss? What did I miss? Right? That fear of missing out, that FOMO.
Mhm.
And adults have it. And it is
Mhm.
so much more difficult in kids. Um, and they don't know how to say how they feel, which is why it's so important as adults that we have to reparent ourselves. We have to heal ourselves so we're able to help our children. Because a lot of us maybe grew up in the 80s, the 90s. We didn't have phones. We were just
No,
out
we
and
were
about doing
outside.
all the things. Thank goodness there were no phones, right? Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
our kids are growing up and those pictures are on the internet for their whole lives.
Mhm.
I could not, like, when I really think about that, you're 10 years old and you start posting things on, I don't know, Snap, Instagram, Facebook. I don't even know what else cool there is. TikTok. Oh yeah, I forgot about TikTok. But but your stuff is out there forever. I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine then growing up and being 40 one day and looking back and all of that is out there.
I
Your
don't
whole
want
life is
to.
exposed. Yeah, I also don't want that, but like your whole life is
Oh.
exposed. And just imagine the invalidation kids are going, like, as they get to adults,
Mhm.
if it's not quick enough, if that validation is not there, they don't know how to process. They don't know how to love
No.
themselves. They don't know how to stand up for themselves. If someone else is doing it, I'm gonna do it. Oh,
Mhm.
this fight is happening, I'm gonna take out a phone. And I
Mhm.
keep talking to them about all of that's online. And that's all they want to see is just the glorification of what that is instead of using words. And almost every time, the bottom feeling is kids are not feeling heard, they're
Mhm.
not feeling appreciated, and they're not feeling seen, or they're embarrassed. But like those are the bottom things. So as an adult, I know we can't always handle those feelings. How would you handle that going through growing up as a child and your hormones are just everywhere? So that's why this day and age of teaching is just, it is completely different.
I know, and that's why I said I definitely commend you because everything you said is a lot that our kids are dealing with. My
Mhm.
oldest, she'll be 16 this year.
Yeah.
And I'm always talking to her and telling her she's coming to me with things, and then I have to remember, okay, she's in school, like because
Yeah.
I'm always like, why are you even entertaining that? And then I have to remember,
Mhm.
okay, I was 15, I was 16 years old.
Mhm.
But I think when you're a parent, like you said, and you go in and you heal yourself,
Yeah.
you can help heal your child from things that you went through so that they don't have to go through that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
And
that's
that
a
would
really
be,
big thing.
and I think that's so important because this new idea of healing in the
Hmm.
last couple of years, I don't think was always around. Like I know my
No.
parents just parented the way they knew.
Hmm.
But I think it's important that we like heal from the stuff we were taught and learned, and we need to let our kids be our kids. We need to know how to listen to our kids and not hush them up. And believe me, when I was a young mom, it was like, just go watch the Disney Channel. I'm just tired. Please go play with your friends. I don't want to deal with this right now. Um, but can I ask, like, how does you said your daughter's 16, how has she handled social media?
Oh gosh, she is Jamie. When I think of her and what she, first of all, I'm just blessed. I'm just gonna say that because I have, I'm not. I just feel like I'm not grateful enough, or I'm not. I shouldn't have her. Like I feel like God gave me her. I talked to her because my dad talked to us in a way that, like you said, when we were young, we couldn't talk to
Mhm.
our parents. We had to go and go watch TV, or I don't want
Mhm.
to be bothered with you. And it wasn't saying that mom wasn't a good mom. It was just that that was what she was taught, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I really feel like we had to deal with. But Layla's awesome. She's awesome. She does have to deal with social media and the things that come along with the social media.
Mhm.
But when it comes to peer pressure, and I'm very vocal with her, I always tell her, "Your mom started having sex at 14." She's like, "Mom," and I'm like, "Because I want you to know, like, I was
Yeah.
talking to your dad at 14. I don't want you to make the
Yeah.
same mistakes that I made."
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
yeah.
it's funny because we can look back and think I would never change anything, right? Like I have two
Mm-hmm.
boys. I had them in my early, like 21, 22, early.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never change anything. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I don't want them to get pregnant when they're in high school or when they're in their
No,
20s. I want them to have their own business and travel the world and go to
right.
college or whatever they decide. I don't want something to control them that they can't get out of. I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather them be able to live their whole life and, well, I'll put choose in quotes when they get pregnant or when they decide to have a family. But yeah, I would never regret one single moment of anything I did, but I want them to have the choices and the freedoms that I had. Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when you're young, the world is just open. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have a child, you can't do everything that you want to do.
You, and I tell her that all the time. I said, I was pregnant with you at 19. I had you at
Mhm.
20. I was a freshman in college. I really, or maybe sophomore, going into sophomore year, and I really didn't. I became an adult so early. My college mate
Yeah.
always used to tell me to slow down, slow down.
Mhm.
And now that I'm older, it's like that's what I'm learning now. I'm learning
Yeah.
to slow down, be in those moments, keep pushing myself, reaching my goals. I'm big on her, and I tell her and the rest of our kids to keep continuing to push those
Mhm.
goals and move forward. But
Yeah.
when I talk about, you know, you owing yourself and you recharging your battery,
Mhm.
what is something that you could have said to 14-year-old Jamie if you could
Mm.
talk to her today?
I really think for a long time, I was constantly trying to fit in, and I think that I wish I don't even know how I could say, like, I wish my parents would have heard me differently, or I mean, my parents got divorced. It was a bad divorce, so I think I was looking for love and validation from a man to prove that I was enough,
Mm-hmm.
and I wish someone could have showed me that I was enough already and I didn't need to have sex or to do anything to get it. That I
Yes.
was perfect just as I was, as outgoing and trying new things and being weird and just being all over the place. I wish that I would have just been accepted as the girl that I was. And I feel like for a long time I was constantly looking for an avenue. And I got divorced when I was 30, and
Mm-hmm.
because I realized I was gay. And even going through that, I kept
Mm-hmm.
being told, you're not gay. Like, it's just a phase. This is not real.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to second guess that a lot. And I went to therapy, and I was scared of the church for a long time. But even that was telling myself that what I knew about myself wasn't real. So then
Mm-hmm.
I was learning not to trust myself. I was, oh man, I messed this up again. Instead of just like, if that's how you feel and that's who you are, then that's true. But once
Oh.
again, it was the cycle of you ruined your family. Can't Why would you do
Mm-hmm.
this to your family? Why would you do this to you, the church? And but that's how we teach our children not to trust themselves. That's how we teach our
Right.
children not to trust their intuition when they're constantly questioned about decisions and choices. Now, of course, there's always like, don't kill anyone, don't drink and drive, like the things that are going to keep you safe. But I think
Right.
that when we constantly question when a child is coming to us about who they are, you're teaching them not to trust their intuition and who they are. And then that will just, especially as women, if a man says 1, 2, or 3 things, maybe you stay in a marriage longer than you should. You stay in a relationship longer than you should. You stay in a job longer than you should because you don't know how to trust that little voice in your stomach. I know mine gets real loud. I get hot everywhere when I know something is off, something is wrong, but I don't always know what to say or how to listen to it. Because what if I'm wrong? Instead of flipping the narrative, your body is talking to you and your body is telling you something's wrong. Just listen to it.
Right, right. Always be of the 5 senses because that's the most accurate thing that you can trust. I love it. I love everything you're saying,
100%.
Jamie. I love how you tell us to keep going forward, guys. You owe yourself to keep pushing for those goals every day. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we go today?
I'm just going to say one thing. Say yes to yourself more than you would say yes to anyone else, even if it comes to your kids. Say yes to yourself. And when you say yes and you feel that peaceful, just that peacefulness in your body, you're in the alignment. When you say yes and you instantly are like, oh, why did I say yes? That means you should have said no. And you can change your path. You can change your direction. You can change your choice, even if it's hard at any time. At any time.
Yeah. And she drops the mic. Y'all hear Jenny Sawyer today. She is definitely spitting jewels. Make sure you go check her out. Jamie, where can we find you at? Let us know about the podcast and where we can find you at on social media.
Okay, so social media, Jamie Sawyer, you'll find me. But Go Ask Sawyer is my podcast name. I have an Instagram page for it. It comes out every Sunday. And right now I feel like people have beautiful stories. And so I'm just interviewing people in my life that have stories that can connect to everyone. Just creating a safe space for lessons.
I love it. Okay. Well, I'm definitely honored again. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, y'all. We are signing out. If you're new to my channel, we're always talking about mental health and healing the inner child. Please go like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. We are signing out today with episode number 55 with you with Jamie Sawyer.
Yeah, have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Yay!